Hi guys, it's Chris at Cork and Crown. I'm back in my freezing cold cider shed with another cider to try. And it's a special one. It was sent to me in a box by a lady called Sarah. So I was given this freezer sample, FYI, but I'm still going to be honest about it. And it's something pretty cool. It's from Fowey Valley and is their kind of like their flagship cider, which is this vintage cider, traditional method. This is the 2016 vintage. Brut, so dry, made from a variety of apples. I think they use Falstaff, which is a well-known eating apple. They use a Brown's Red, which I've never heard of. Can't find anything about Browns I'm aware of. It's like it's a sharp from Devon. So I don't know if it's related to that. But from what I could gather, these are eating apples. And then they add some sort of traditional heritage Cornish apples in for body. They use a champagne yeast. I think there's wild yeast in there as well, but they put it into tanks to ferment for a year with champagne yeast. Then they put it in the bottles for another year, where it ages on the lees. Then they riddle it, so all the dead yeast etc. goes into the neck. They disgorge it, dose it with a bit of sugar just to add a bit of sweetness. Put the cork back in, and there you go. So the whole process takes about 2 to 3 years. There's some writing on the back of this. I will read it out to you. In times gone by, the Fowey Valley was famous for its orchards, attracting boat trips in the late spring to view the spectacular apple blossom. Our orchard is one of the few to continue to produce prized cider in this part of the country. Cornwall, if I didn't say that. We make our sparkling vintage cider with a high proportion of dessert apples to give it the delicious method traditional taste. We don't use sulfites or preservatives. The apples are pressed, then fermented twice. First in the bottle for a year, then a second year's fermentation. First in the barrel for a year, and then a second year's fermentation in the bottle. It is a secondary fermentation that gives our cider its wonderful bubbly effervescence, a method invented in the West Country for fine cider making around 1600, well before it was used in France for champagne. And indeed, the technology for these bottles is English. Because without these heavy-duty bottles, they just blow up. They just blow up, and Don Perignon was mentioned there. His job wasn't to make sparkling wine. His job was actually stop wine from sparkling. Because if it blew up, it could take out thousands of bottles. You'd have a chain reaction. So it wasn't until the British invented this stuff for things like ciders and perries that it became possible to make sparkling wines and ciders, etc. on purpose. So there you go, British invention. I think it's called Vert Anglais in France still. English glass. So there you go, that proves it. Right, let's open this mofo. 2016, so 5 years since it was picked and pressed, a little bit more. That's looking a little bit on the wonk. So is this going to blow up and cover me in delicious cider? I don't know, it's 7.5%. So there was some sugar in there for sure. It's also been dosed when it's bottled. But I don't think that ferment. I think that's just for sweetness. I'm not sure that's going to produce any fermentation. Is this going to explode? Is it going to explode? Are you going to explode? It hasn't exploded. Fantastic. It's open. I'm going to put it in a big mofo glass so I can smell it properly. There you go. There you go. Exciting. Exciting. Pop. There you go. Nice. Lovely bubbles coming up in there. Don't know if you can see that. Let's pour it out. So expect a lovely mousse, which I have got. What I'm hoping to get is a little bit of sort of like a brioche sort of kind. They get autolysis from the yeast and give you sort of a brioche character. Not sure it's going to get that or not. This is one gold medal at Taste of the West in 2016. So there you go. So there you go. There it is. Where's my thingamajig? There's my thingamajig. Pale in colour. Very pale in colour. I'll be using dessert apples, not much exposure to air, and not a lot of tannin in there anyway to give you that sort of like darkness, that oxidization of the tannins to give you that sort of amber colour you'll associate with a lot of the ciders that I sell. Like, let's find one. Like that. Look at the difference in colour. That is well, that's actually a perry. That wasn't a very good example. But, anything else? Oh, there you go. Use this one. What's that one? That one is browned and brown snout. Look at the difference in colour. There you go. So, I think I can smell this already, but let's give it a sniff. Ooh. Ooh. I think there's a bit of acidity in there, which is good. Quite delicate, floral. There is a sort of a very, 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 very subtle hint of yeast. I can't tell if it's like pastry or bread, but it's subtle, but it's definitely there. It's delicate. But I get there's like a sort of an acidity on the nose, which I really like, which I wasn't expecting, but it's very subtle. Man, that is a delicate nose, but very appealing. Soft, round, welcoming, hints of apple, hints of yeast. There's a hint of acidity as well. Yeah, it's delicate. I could smell it for quite a long time now, because I find it very appealing. And this is super cold, because you can't be opening these sorts of bottles warm, just in case they blow up, which they certainly have a habit of doing on me in my shed. My mouth's watering, so I'm going to give this a taste. I'm going to cheers, Sarah, and thank you very much, Fowey Valley, for sending me this. Fab mousse, really nice mousse. Yes, that acidity I thought I detected on the nose, I'm getting it on the palate. It's nice. It's really nice. I love it. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. This has got an acidity in it that you wouldn't get in a champagne, I think. And it's not... it feels like... This is going to sound derogatory, and it's not. I don't think this has got acetic acid in it. But it feels like the malic acid in it's got almost like got enough... Makes your mouth water in a way that acetic acid would. But I really like that. It almost makes me think of like sherbet or something like that. That acidity is great. I actually really like the acidity in this. It's brilliant. Lovely mousse, lovely bubbles. Very little tannin to speak of, which if you're using dessert apples, you wouldn't expect to get a lot of tannin, because they're low in tannin. But yeah, that kind of malic acid thing, it's reminding me. See, it reminds me of. I hate talking about acetic acid, because I quite like acetic acid a little bit. I think it tastes great. You know, I often mention things like Belgian beers, like Bruins, you know, browns and Belgian reds, Belgian browns. They're put in big wood foudre, like barrels, if you like, and they develop a hint of acidity, and part of it is acetic, but it's just a little bit. This isn't acetic, but it's just the acidity that's in there. It's just tending towards that a little bit. It's reminiscent of that. And I really like that. I really like that acidity thing. I think it's fab. I didn't expect it at all. I really like it. Yeah. It's delicate, but there's hints of really traditional cider making of this. The acid character, which you associate with those sort of southwest cider makers. And this is cold. I have to say, without that acidity, it'd be nice, but it'd be kind of like very, very light indeed. The acidity in this is really lifting it, I really like it. And I'm really, thank you very much for sending it to me. I'm looking forward to drinking the entire bottle, and maybe I can find out a bit more about Brown's Red, or Red Browns, or whatever it was called, because I couldn't find anything about it. So there you go, 7.5%. Fowey Valley, so their flagship vintage cider method, traditional method, champagne method. I like it. It stands out from the pack. That it's much more interesting than a lot of the traditional method ciders that I've had, primarily because of that acidity. Really, really, really tasty indeed. So thank you very much for joining me in my shed with my massive glass of fizzy cider. I hope you join me again, but until that time, cheers.